Why pay cash when I can use my credit card and earn points? Can't see any downside to that, eh? Ted's here. Let's begin.
This is Debt Free in 30. Here's your host, Doug Hoyes.
Ted, welcome back. It is that wonderful time of the year when everyone has their credit card bills from the holiday season. And some of that spending, maybe a lot of that spending, earned credit card points and rewards.
How exciting.
That's fantastic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first question, and I want the listener to answer this question along with us, but I'll ask you, have you ever altered your spending just to earn credit card points or rewards? Like you used a different card or you went to a different store or did something different?
I haven't, but I'm sure my spouse has.
There you go. We should have her on.
That could be an interesting show.
Very interesting thing. Yeah. And, you know, I'm thinking, okay, I've got two credit cards. One is primarily for business. One is primarily for personal.
Right. And I'm the same. So
I don't have a whole lot of thinking about which of these 12 cards should I use. But I can certainly see how someone would go, well, okay, this one has this feature, this one has that feature, and I start bouncing around. Right. So,
well, and she likes to accumulate travel points.
Well, so let's talk about that then.
Right.
So what are the different kinds of rewards that you can get? So travel points is an obvious, and what does that mean? How does that work? What's the deal?
And I'm not fully cognizant of how it works because I don't get the points.
You don't know how it works.
But obviously they accumulate so many points for so many dollars spent, and you can redeem them for travel on different airlines.
And that's, I think, the first.
That's how it all started.
How it all started, right? So your card, you know, every dollar you get a mile or something,
right? And
then so the mile, if you're going to that place, you need this many miles, and that's how it all works. And so, okay, that kind of makes sense. Then it morphed into other things. So here you get stuff you can redeem for other stuff or whatever.
Yep. Well, and the most common one the last couple of years is just a cash rebate.
Right, which kind of makes the most sense to me because I can use that anywhere, right? Because you're just giving me cash.
Well, and it's the interesting thing is, of course, that the merchants all have to charge more to cover the fees for using their credit cards, but the credit card company gives us a rebate of cash for using our credit card.
Yeah, and we're going to talk at the micro level here, but we're going to talk from the person's point of view.
Yep.
You're right. If there were no rewards, if there were no perks and bonuses and everything, then presumably credit card fees charged to the merchant would be lower.
Right. And
ultimately all the products would cost less.
Prices should be less.
But if I personally stop using a rewards card, it's going to have no effect on the economy whatsoever.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, well, if the free thing is there, I might as well get it then.
Well, and the reverse of that's true. If by putting that free thing on the card to get you to use it more, they win.
Yeah,
everybody wins.
Then everybody wins, except if you can't pay it. But that's a
different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like going to Costco and getting the free samples. Well, whether you get them or not isn't going to change anything. So if they're there, you might as well take it. So, okay, so back to the rewards then. There's like travel, rewards. There's cash, which is the obvious one, a cash back. And then there's other perks that come along with it. So, I mean, I know you probably went to all of the Taylor Swift concerts last year.
Sure I did.
I can't even say her name. But if you have the certain credit card, then you get advance notice of that concert.
Ticket discounts, or at least you get to buy them beforehand. You don't have to go through Ticketmaster, those crooks, whoever they are.
So Ted Michalos, if you want to sue them, I guess that's another sponsor we will not be getting.
Right.
And then, there's other sign-up bonuses. Hey, if you meet your threshold, you get this, you get that. So, okay. So we understand what the rewards, we don't really understand, but we're kind of pretending.
There are rewards out there if you want them.
So why? Why do the credit cards offer rewards? Well, the answer is because they make more money.
Right. That's always going to be the answer.
So that's pretty
think
simple.
about it. Credit card, there's only really two things that they can attract you with. Either there's a lower interest rate if you carry a balance, or there's some other incentive to get you to use their card over the other guy's card. So they've got to find a way to make, how is my credit card different than Bob's credit card?
And we didn't make this explicit, but I think everyone understands that when I use my credit card at the store is paying the credit card company
1.5% or 2%.
Some percent.
If it's Amex, it might be 3%.
Yeah, they've all got their own deals, obviously, but that's buried in the price. So the credit card makes money off the merchant fee,
right?
But then they also obviously make money off the interest if you don't pay in full each month.
And that's a pretty good rate of return they're getting on that interest, right?
Yeah. It's
credit cards, the best ones you see might be 11 or 12%. Most of them are 19 or 20. And if you start missing payments, it gets higher and higher.
And there are some that could start off at 25%. So,
that's right.
And then there's a whole bunch of other fees that are built in there. You got your annual fee, your monthly fee, foreign transaction fees. You already mentioned it, penalty fees. Oh, you're late with a payment. Boom. Here's the additional fee, an over limit fee.
You're wearing a green shirt on a Monday,
right.
you know, whatever that fee is for. Yep.
And so those are the obvious ones. Now there's some others that are, I think, less obvious.
Yep.
And one of them is data.
Right.
So what kind of data can a credit card company get from me?
Well, so the credit card company has all the details on all the purchases you ever make on that card. So we know when you bought it, what you bought, how much you spent. We can look and see, oh, well, so you used your credit card 3 times at the supermarket in the last month, and these are the items that you purchased on it. They can get that level of detail if they want to or pay for it. And so they can now, well, they can do a couple of things. They can go to the companies that you're using the cards with more frequently and say, you know what, you ought to do some kind of promotion that ties in with us because our cards are getting used at your store a lot. Or they can start to look for promotions that they can run to entice you to use their card even more. I know that you buy clothes at this particular location a couple times a month. We're going to have a promotion next month to entice you to go there a third time.
And in addition to knowing everything you spend on your card, they've also got access to your credit report.
Right.
Because they're a lender. You gave them that permission. So they can tie a whole lot of stuff together here. You buy shoes at that place, and here's all the other stuff we know about you. So you're right. It's very easy to tailor a promotion, you know, just for you or just for people like you.
And I assume that's one of the first AI things, right? They're doing deep dives and figuring out how to sell me more stuff.
Absolutely. And it's not just AI. They've been doing it for many years. So they can target market to you, or they can sell that to somebody else.
Yep.
So, hey, we know all these things about this group of customers. Here you go.
And they do both.
Absolutely.
Because it makes money.
Absolutely. So this kind of all cycles back to what you said. The reason they're offering these rewards and points, it costs them money, but it makes you, more ingrained in their system. You use their card more. They generate more in merchant fees. They generate more data, which means they generate more in fees.
Right.
Which leads to cross-selling. So you gave the example of, hey, I buy shoes at that place. You should have a special deal. But they could also be cross-selling a bunch of other stuff, loans, insurance, investment products.
Right.
Because again, they know all about you.
And they all have subsidiaries that do those things.
Yep. And well, a lot of credit card companies are banks.
Right.
So it's pretty easy to be linking that all in. And then I think the final item would be risk management.
Okay.
So the more I know about you, the more I can mitigate my risk. Again, I'm thinking of this from the point of view of the credit card company. So I've got this travel rewards card. Well, who is it that travels? Right. Poor people or rich people? Well, probably people with more money. So this is a way for me to attract a more affluent customer. Therefore, my loan losses are less. I can make even more money.
Sure.
It's brilliant. So, okay, we understand why they do it. It's because they make money. That's kind of the short answer.
So why do people do it?
Exactly. Why do we as people then? What's the thing that, is it just, I like free stuff? Is it as simple as that?
It is as simple as that. I think of the old example where an upscale chocolate company offered their customers free chocolates that normally sell for 25 cents, or they could get a $3 chocolate for 50 cents, and everybody took the free ones. Right? Even though it's free.
Even though the deal was way better.
Much better on the other one.
Because I was saving $2 or whatever it is on the other one. So that's just the way our brains work.
That's just the way our brains work.
We are psychological creatures. We want to earn something for free.
Right.
And so
we think we're getting a deal, and it doesn't matter that the other deal was better. Well, this is a good deal. I like this.
Yeah. Deal. Well, which I go back to my Costco example. I don't know why I'm thinking about Costco today, but there's two examples. One is I'm going to line up for the free samples. Right. The other thing is there's always a lineup at their gas station, at their gas bars. Yeah. Okay, well, and I guess, I don't know, it's 10 cents cheaper or whatever it is.
It's because they do a volume business. It is 10 cents a liter cheaper.
So, but is it worth being in line for half an hour So
if you do that, Matt, is it worth driving across town?
Yeah.
Or, well, I mean, you only just had the Costco open in Brantford.
Oh, yes.
Before that, you had to drive to Cambridge.
Brand new one at the beginning of November. Yeah. So it's a shorter drive now.
Right.
But
and if you're going there for gas, maybe you'll go into the store and spend money too.
Right. Because you can't leave Costco without spending $700.
Right.
So how many liters does my car take?
You got a 14-year-old Honda?
Yes.
Probably 80.
80 liters. Okay, so 80 liters.
So you save $8.
$8. Okay, so maybe
about a half hour of your time. Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Because I make basically minimum wage, so that's probably right. But yeah, so it's that I saved 10 cents.
Right.
I didn't think about the fact that I had to drive across town, which cost me the same amount that I just spent
easily.
The same amount I saved in the time. So, okay, so from a behavioral economics point of view, it encourages increased spending or more frequent use of the credit card, even if it means not choosing the most financially beneficial or cheapest option.
Right.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense financially, obviously, but there's so many other things at play.
So, okay, so what then are the advantages for me using the best rewards card?
Okay. Well, so how are we going to find best? But I guess the one that gets the greatest benefit to you? I don't know.
Sure, let's go with that.
I would say it's the one that gives you the most cash back, but I guess that's the greatest benefit to me.
Right.
Right.
So if you are a business owner, which we are, or if you're an employee at a company and you have to you got to, book hotels and whatnot, right, then I guess it's definitely worth it to have the credit card that maximizes the rewards.
Whatever those rewards are. That's
whatever those rewards are. Now, you and I both used to work for a company called PwC.
Right.
This was 26 years ago now. We left there and formed Hoyes and Michalos, obviously. But I remember getting a PwC American Express card.
Yep.
That had my name on it, but it also said PwC. And I guess because if we had to travel or something, that's how you did it.
Well, and because remember, as an accounting firm, you didn't want to have a particular bank's card, right? Because then you could be offending somebody. Well,
right.
American Express isn't a bank.
Yeah. If we do the audit for CIBC, we can't give our
client, buy them lunch with a TD credit card.
Whereas American okay, that's true. So why then would the big company be giving out those credit cards?
Well, they also have some kind of relationship or deal with American Express. Maybe they have a longer period to repay, or they get a discount on the merchant's fee or something.
They're getting the rewards.
There's a kickback. That's right.
Yeah, they're getting the rewards. Okay, so that makes sense. So if you are a volume user of a credit card, then there's really no downside to spending a little time figuring out which one would be better for me.
Right.
And get those benefits, particularly if someone else is paying for it, my employer's paying for it or whatever.
I mean, some of this is predicated on a false assumption. Our advice has always been to people, 2 credit cards at most. But if you want to be able to shop around for benefits, you could have 4, 5, 6, depending on what the deal of the month is. It's just risky.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about
that
risk
in a couple of minutes.
And so I guess the other advantage would be, in your example, well, I got 6 cards because this is the one that I get the best deal on gas.
Right.
And this is for groceries. This is for restaurants. This is for travel. So I'm paying the same no matter what.
Yep.
I'm getting enhanced
And as long
benefit.
as you pay it off at the end of the month so that you're not getting charged interest on any of these things, maybe it doesn't matter.
Well, so let's talk about the downside thing.
Right.
Because we're all about the downsides here. This is Debt Free in 30, the podcast about the downsides. So we've talked about the upsides. You're getting rewards. You're getting free stuff. But okay, what's the downside?
Right. So nothing is ever really free. Right? And so if you aren't able to pay off the card in full, there's going to be some sort of interest charge. And most of the really generous rewards cards have really high interest.
So, but stuff is free if I pay it off in full every month.
Well, it's built into the cost of what you're buying.
Right. But if I had gone...
But it's deferred over all the people in the world.
Right.
So
if I'd gone into the store and used a $20 bill to buy it, or I put it on my credit card, I'm paying the same amount.
Right.
So in that sense, it's free. I don't think anyone uses $20 bills anymore, but...
I have some in my pocket.
There you go. We should put one up so
the children like them.
People would understand
see what they look like.
What we're talking about here. So if you're paying in full every month, not incurring any interest charges, great. But you're right. Risk number one is you don't pay. Mm-hmm. Well, now you're getting whacked with interest.
Right.
And you're right. The rewards cards are probably not also the cards with the low interest.
course not.
In fact, I
almost guarantee that
I haven't done any research on this.
Right.
I haven't done any show prep, but my guess is the low interest cards are the cards that is the reward.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
The interest rate is 12%.
It's more cost effective than getting cash back or any kind of points or anything. It's the one that makes the most sense for the system.
Yep.
But doesn't necessarily entice you to use the card.
Exactly, because in fact maybe it's the opposite. I don't have so let's talk
if
about.
I'm paying off my balance every month, I don't care that it's low interest.
That's right. It doesn't help me.
Right.
So I'm only getting that card if I'm not paying off the balance. So you just kind of hit on the next one, which is I'm encouraged to overspend.
Right. Because then I get more of whatever the reward is.
And unfortunately, that then can lead to more debt.
That's the slippery slope, particularly if you're the person that's got the card for gas, the card for food, the card for clothes. So now you've got all these different cards. And if you start to overspend on one, well, the risk is now I'll start to overspend on all of them.
And that to me is a big risk, which is the risk of complexity.
Right.
So I've got 6 different cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in my wallet or my purse or whatever, I got to, okay, I'm going to the gas, I'm going in, I'm going to use it. Okay, what do I do? So I'm using some mental energy just trying to figure it out. But then I got to pay all these 6 every month.
Right. And you got to pay them at the right time or you'll get charged interest.
And there's no chance that they all have the same payment date.
Well, and I remember once every 2 or 3 years, they change your payment date. TD is famous for doing this. That's where I bank, folks. So my payment dates are
not
usually
a sponsor, but if you want
the 20th or 25th, and then they'll switch it to the 15th without actually telling me, or if they did, I didn't notice it.
Yep.
And so I get dinged for interest for a month or two before I realize, hey, stupid, they've changed the payment date.
Yeah, which is why my strategy has always been I pay everything every payday.
Right.
So we get paid here at Hoyes Michalos twice a month, I believe.
Yep.
15th and the last day of the month.
And that's when we pay bills.
Yep. So it's okay. Today's payday. I go in, every credit card, whatever, boom, 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 get everything paid.
Right.
So the changing of the dates doesn't affect me. But if I have 6 cards,
how do you keep track of all of that?
Yeah. And so I've got to, of course, there's no paper anymore. It hasn't been, well, and I guess the postal strike kind of made that even less likely that people use paper. So I've got to now go in and log into 6 different portals, figure out what's owing, and but that's not the only complexity. The other one is the different reward structures.
Right.
So, okay, this one I get 2% money back, cash back.
Mm-hmm.
And this one I get on this, and this is, but you got to spend $100.
Right. Well, and sometimes you get one rate for gas, you get one rate for food, you get one rate for eating at restaurants. I mean, it's all
right.
If you can't figure it out, then you just got to assume you're getting a deal.
Yeah. And so is there a difference between food and restaurants? Well, yeah. One is what you buy at the grocery store.
One is subject to HST.
There you go. And so we're getting even more confusing. And then there's the issue of, with travel, blackout dates.
Right.
I don't know what that means. You drink so much you black out and you can't travel?
So you can't go to the places that are warm and sunny in the winter.
I see. Gotcha. And then there's, other restrictions. There could also be an expiration on the points. They may not necessarily, or the rewards or whatever it is, you got to use them. Or
I think there might have been a case law about they may not allow
that anymore.
But they certainly did. They used to.
Well, but they could certainly say, here, this deal, you get double the points, you get this, you get that. So there's a whole lot of complexity. The other one is the credit score impact.
Yeah, this one's a little sneakier. So your credit score is impacted when you get a new card because now you've got more credit available to you. And if you haven't used it, well, then your utilization rate is lower. But as soon as you do use it, well, your utilization rate goes up. You get that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th card. Well, so now you've got access to a lot of credit. Maybe you use it, maybe you don't. If you start closing those cards, you also take a hit. Like, so they got you coming and going.
And at some point, like, you're right, the more credit available, the better, because your utilization is lower. Like you said, I'm not using them.
But somebody's going to do the math to say, hey, wait a minute, you've got too much credit available.
Yeah. So, okay, I've got 2 credit cards, $10,000 each. That's $20,000. That's a reasonable number. If I have 10 of them and I have $100,000,
right,
at some point, doesn't that hit the upper end of the
the math's got to go work backwards.
And it doesn't work. So, okay, so there's good and there's bad. Right. So let's do the practical advice segment here then. Like you said, you and I have always advised 1 credit card, maybe 2.
If you need a second one for tax or work or something.
Yeah. And I guess the reason I've always said 2 is, well, banks are always having problems. Oh, the bank system's down. There's an issue, whatever. Right. this store doesn't like that, whatever. Okay, so I got a backup one.
Yep.
In our case, you're right. We've got the business
one for work, one for personal.
One for business. So that makes sense. And other than rewards, there's really no good reason to have more than 2.
Not in my opinion.
Now, I guess, again, Costco should be a sponsor of this show because this is the third
You're bringing them up today.
But when you go to Costco, they've got a deal with a specific company and you can have your picture on the card and that becomes your membership and all the rest of it.
Right.
So, okay, I can kind of see that particular retailer. Maybe there's a reason, but it is a MasterCard. You can use it anywhere. So that's a very creative marketing on their part. But, okay, so we're still of the belief fewer credit cards is better. But I guess if you want to play this game, then the first thing you got to do is analyze your spending patterns.
Right.
So,
what are you using the credit cards to purchase and what are the benefits for using it in different ways? So you've got to do a fair bit of homework to figure out which one of these things is best for you.
And you probably have to do recurring homework.
I would think so because there are promotions and changes all the time.
It's going to change. So, like the best cashback cards, what are they, 2%?
I think that's the highest.
So, which is probably, I mean, that's interesting because the merchant fee is probably not a full 2%. Well, maybe it is. Maybe it's
I think
higher
it
than
is
that.
now, and American Express it certainly is higher than that.
So but if let's say it is 2%, the credit card company is giving you 2%,
right?
Which is their entire revenue from every purchase you're making.
So obviously they're making money some other way.
They have to be making money some other way,
and they're counting on making it off the interest probably.
Well, and all the other things we talked about, the data monetization, merchant partnerships, cross-selling, you know, risk management, the whole bit. So, okay, you analyze your stuff. So let's take your wife as the example here in this case. So she has a card, we're going to assume, that gets some kind of travel points or whatever.
Right.
So in her case, if those points are worth more than 2% cash back, then it's worth using that card. Right. Otherwise, you should just use the 2% card.
Right.
And so do we have any idea if those reward cards, do I get anything else special? Do I get to go to the airport lounge with them? Do I get to...
And I don't know.
No clue. Neither I got no idea.
Because if she's using points, she's not traveling with me.
There you go. Because you're always in the back of the bus.
Well, remember, she runs the marathons and stuff, so she travels a lot.
Right.
And I don't.
You don't?
Somebody has to pay the bills, so I'm at work.
I'm shocked.
Right.
I'm absolutely shocked. So, okay, so you got to analyze your spending patterns, and it's kind of stupid getting the travel card if you're not a traveler.
Right.
Pick the one that's going to work for you. The other thing is the annual fees.
Correct.
So it is not uncommon for a points card to have an annual fee.
Yeah. $99 or something like
Whatever it is.
Yep.
So, okay, if you're going to earn $1,000 in points, I guess paying $100 in fees, you're still $900 ahead.
Right.
But if you have 6 different cards and you're paying the fees on all of them, aren't you kind of screwing yourself there, I would think?
Well, and this show typically isn't for the people that don't worry about paying their credit cards or anything. It's the issue is if you've got those 6 cards and all those 6 fees, you're probably also paying interest and everything else. I mean, it's just...
And that's going to be our closing comment, and I think that's kind of where it all breaks down. But, okay, so back to the practical advice. Then number 1, analyze your spending patterns.
Right.
And I think you have to continually look at the different cards where you're playing this game because they're changing the rules. And
it's like anything else. Think of the rewards as some kind of sale. There's a sale on that particular credit card. So if you're going to play this game, you got to figure out who's got the best sale.
That's a good way to think about it. Another way to think about it would be something like your car insurance.
Right.
Every year, do you go and shop for new car insurance? Probably not. I've had the same place since I was 16 years old.
You probably should.
You should.
You should.
I don't either. And I literally have been with the same place for 45 years, but because I'm just lazy.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's habit. I don't shop for a new bank to see if I can get a better deal either.
Right.
But with reward cards, they get you in.
Mm-hmm.
You've got this 3-month, offer. You're getting double the points.
Whatever the deal is.
But then, okay, are you disciplined enough to say, okay, well, I want to get rid of that card and start using a different one? But as you said, when you get rid of the card, that's going to have a negative impact on your credit score, potentially.
Right.
Probably because you've now lowered your authorized limit. So you got to be a bit careful on all that. So you do the analysis. I'm a big believer that simpler is better.
Right.
if you really want to spend 3 hours a week managing,
if you get a certain amount of entertainment value out of doing that stuff, then okay. But most people don't.
Yeah,
most
that's your hobby. Is
frustrating.
that your hobby, working the spreadsheet? So
right.
I think my third piece of advice, and really what we're giving is the exact advice we give to every single client we talk to, and that is analyze your spending, see where you're at, and track it. If you haven't done it retroactively, track it over the next month or so. And ask yourself the question, am I being influenced by these rewards?
Right.
Like, am I going, okay, I can earn an extra point if I buy an extra pair of shoes? Is it actually influencing my behavior?
Yeah.
Because if it is, then that's a problem. And I'm kind of curious. So if anybody watching is going, now that you mention it, put a note in the comments there. There's a comment thing on the YouTube. You can tell us all this. So, okay. So let's wrap this up with the big picture here.
Okay.
The biggest problem, which we've already identified, is the rewards potentially make you spend more, which then leads to debt.
Right.
Is it as simple as that?
Credit is good. Debt is bad. As soon as you use credit, it becomes debt. Debt is bad.
And so if I have been playing the reward game, and as a result, maybe it was over the holiday season, maybe it's been longer term than that, I've got a bunch of debt, then what's the next step?
So if you've got more debt than you can handle, you really should look for some outside help. And that's what we do for a living, right? We'll talk to you about your situation, analyze what you've been doing with your cash, and then maybe it makes sense for you to file a consumer proposal.
Okay, so I come into you and I say, yeah, you know what, I'm in over my head. I got to file a proposal, but I've got this card that has a bunch of points built up on it.
Right.
So what's going to happen if I file a consumer proposal or a bankruptcy? Am I losing all these points?
When you lose the card, you're going to lose the points.
So what's your advice to the person in that?
Depends on the nature of the points. If they're travel points, you're probably out of luck, because if you go on a trip just before you file a proposal, bad things are going to happen.
Banks don't like that. Yeah. Yeah. And but that's the answer. When you file a proposal or a bankruptcy, you lose your cards.
Right.
That's the whole point. They're not going to keep lending to you while you're bankrupt.
It's a reset. And so the reset, you lose the good and the bad.
It's a fresh start.
Yep.
So, again, when you come in to talk to us, we can have a one-on-one conversation and discuss this. But yeah, I mean, if you've got a bunch of points that are redeemable, well, you might as well redeem them.
Right.
Because they're going to be
lost
gone.
anyway.
They're lost anyways. But I agree with you. When you file a proposal or a bankruptcy, the creditors can give us a list of, and I believe they're actually required to, here's recent transactions.
That's right. This is what's been going on. And often they'll say, this one looks a little bit fishy.
Yeah. And so if a month ago you had $0 owing on your credit card and today you owe $10,000 and then tomorrow you go bankrupt, they're going to go, wait a minute.
Right.
This looks like a deliberate something or other. So if you think, hey, you know what I'm going to do? Let's rack up the card, get all the points, go on the trip, and then go bankrupt.
Yeah.
It's not going to go well for you. And particularly in a proposal where the creditors are actually voting on this.
Right. You're asking them to accept a deal.
Right. But I just screwed you. So we don't recommend that. So a bunch of things you have to think about here. But okay, so to summarize, if you want to play the game, fine.
Right.
And we all have a card that works for us, so that's cool. But make sure you're not spending more than you should, and make sure it's not leading to debt. That's the biggest issue. Credit cards are fine if you're paying them off in full every month. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, major problems.
Right. They're a replacement for cash. They're not a replacement for borrowing.
Simple as that. Replacement for cash, people. So
probably in the book.
It is, I think, in the book. So there you go. Straight talk on your money. I'm sure you can see it in the background there. So our advice is track your spending over the next month. If your spending is influenced by credit card, rewards, and points, not good. We're not like it. You can, again, put a note on social media, put a comment on YouTube or any of the audio platforms. And remember, we have a new show every week. Did you know that? Every single week, we have a new Debt-Free in 30. We also release some shorter videos during the week as well on our Debt-Free in 30 channel. So there you go. Be careful with reward points. They can be good. They can also burn you. Until next week, thanks for listening. I'm Doug Hoyes. That was Debt-Free in 30.